open up stores and finance stores. It takes a while for them to contribute positively to cash flow, so.
I was surprised the other weekend. I worked in Victoria.
Oh, yeah.
Opened it up. That's our son's favorite gene. It's a cinnamon picture. He's like,
Well, they do a good job.
Very nice.
Thank you.
Yeah.
They were from the university.
They should do okay. It'll be slow to start, and then they can increase the store openings once they get more cash flowing.
glorious summer evening. And I'm looking out, can't quite see them now, I guess they're right around the corner, at the beautiful new picnic tables that have been installed on this patio right out here, handily in the shade, so that the parents want to sit with their cool drink while their kids run around in the water. They can do that. It's a good thinking and good job, everyone. Thanks for that. So before we start, I want to acknowledge that we're meeting on the traditional, ancestral, and unceded territory of the Musqueam people. And we are, as they have for generations, really enjoying this place where we live and all that it has to offer. For that, I offer my appreciation, and I think we all have appreciation for that. No one has declared any conflicts of interest before this meeting. Does anyone wish to now declare a conflict of interest or a possible conflict of interest related to today's agenda? No. Yeah, it's only board members who would be voting. Yes. So, all right. So with that, I'll call us to order, and we'll start with the approval of the agenda, and I'll move that the board approve the July 22nd, 2025 open session agenda as circulated. Seconded by Ron. All in favor? Motion carries. All right, and then the approval of the minutes. I'll move that the board approve the June 17th, 2025 open session meeting minutes as circulated. Seconded by Jake. Thank you. All in favor? Motion carries. All right. And moving down to delegations, I will just note with thanks that John Dustin has initially was going to give a presentation related to the trees at Sandringham, but he will not be presenting tonight as this is a developing story, as you might say, or issue. And so he may make a presentation at this Denver meeting. And before we move on, though, I'll recognize Ron.
I just want to make a note that I'm in conversation with John, and they are preparing the independent arborist report, which they will provide us before the meeting, reviewing the issues of their trees. So that's the reason why you canceled. It wasn't ready.
Yeah, that's helpful information, and it's always much appreciated when for the delegations, particularly on an issue like this, they want as much preparation as possible so that we can engage in a substantive way. So thanks for that update. There is no electoral area A monthly report this month. It's kind of the relatively quiet period. So I think Jen McCutcheon may well be back to see us in September. In any case, I've been in touch, and I did want to report that I conveyed to her the essence of our discussion on her agenda item last month relating to dogs in Pacific Spirit Park. Was something that came up, and now I'd have to remind myself what the other issue was, but she was responsive, but also indicated that these are at the moment unresolved issues, and so I'm going to be meeting with her in the next few weeks to follow up on, especially related to the dogs in Pacific Spirit Park, just to get an update, and I certainly would pass along anything I learned to the rest of you.
Okay, my concern, and she hasn't come for a long time, is that if you walk along Sword Fern Trail, which runs from the 60s up to the power line, this is what my concern is, an awful lot of deadfall there, what they would say, firefighters will refer to as fuel. We have a very dry summer. It's right behind where Jake was. This is something that, I invite her to walk with us and have a look there. I mean, it's, the last thing we need is a forest fire that will impact us with smoke and other things.
So yes, I am remembering that was the other issue that came up, and I did convey that as well to her. And if I recall, she mentioned to me that there is a forest management plan but I'll try to, she was very responsive. I don't mean to say that she was in any way dismissive. And so I'll try to get something specific that I can share with the board related to the forest management. So thank you for that reminder.
I would be very happy to walk the area with you.
I'll make a note of possible walk. Okay, and then, oh, actually, I totally missed the Campus and Community Planning Monthly Report. My apologies, and Carol's away. Holly is here, and monthly report was very, it had a lot of good stuff, I'll say, events, things that are going on. Holly, if there's anything that you want to add relating to that report, you're welcome to, although Carol doesn't normally do much more than say, there it is, and do you have any questions?
Nothing to add unless there's questions.
Are there any questions or comments from other members? And I've already said expressed my enthusiasm for the picnic tables that are out there. That was in the development permit list, but actually this also appears in the UNA management report, so I'll save further praise for that. And then I also wanted to note that there's a new round of inspiring community grants, and having been the recipient and having made, I think, very good use of my $500 inspiring community grant to build a little free library in the area next to Oakwood and near the community gardens there. I'll say that you can do a lot of great stuff with a relatively small amount of money, and so I would urge other residents to take advantage of this, especially when it comes to public realm improvements. And I think this is something that's really valuable for community building in our neighborhoods. That is getting residents to come together on some kind of project in the public realm. And yes, you do need a development permit to put up a little free library, but it is possible, and even something I think that campus planning is enthusiastic about. And so this is a great opportunity, and I hope others will take advantage of it. Okay. Anything else? Yeah, Jake?
Just a question, is it well used, that little library?
Yeah, we've replaced a lot of books already, so people are taking books, and so far, it's like take a book, leave a book. And so far, we don't know who's been taking the books, but the leaving is mostly the residents of Oakwood. Maybe about a third of the books from my family, but we're book crazy and we have too many, and it's actually been a great way to share them around. But we have some neighbors, a couple neighbors who are librarians, and they have a happy relationship to books as well.
Good, because I'm always looking to get rid of books. I'm trying to get rid of them.
Yes, so you are welcome to leave a book. So Oakwood is the townhouses over there. Just to the left, there's a walkway that goes back towards the greenway.
Yeah.
That goes towards the farm, and it's on that walkway on the left. It's wonderful for a stroll. Just next stroll, carry a few books with you, and you can drop them off right there.
Our green depot also received that books.
The
Green depot.
The Green Depot, they also have it's kind of like a reuse it. And people are leaving books and then they're putting them out. So it's like a free library as well. So that's another destination. Really good point. Yeah, thank you, Sandy.
I'm just wondering if we could use this grant to set up hummingbird feeder stations, to attract hummingbirds into our neighborhoods, and hummingbirds help us pollination of everybody's flowers and other plants.
I think that would probably fall under the mandate of the Inspiring Community Grants. It's a really wide range of things. If you go to their website, you'll see they fund events. And there's some physical infrastructure things like the little free library that we built, like we used it to buy materials, that's really mostly, and then we used it to have a little celebration. Right? So that's the community part, and that they encourage that too. It's like about community building. I would think doing stuff with pollinators and a hummingbird station, things like that would be excellent. Yeah, it's exciting, actually. Okay, anything else? Great, thank you. And then now we move on to the reports and the July 2025 management report. And start with Paul, CAO's report.
Thank you very much. I don't think there's anything particularly unique in the CAO section this cycle. Pretty regular cycle of work that went on during the month. I do want to highlight again our process of implementation of our HR management system. Really fundamentally headed by Athena, who's on a well-deserved vacation right now. We have implemented the payroll and time management part of that software, and had our first payroll cycle in this last payroll cycle, and everyone got paid.
It's better than federal.
Yeah, good news. So that's good news. We'll have our second cycle coming up shortly. Actually, just well away. So that's proceeding along. There's much more. It's quite a robust system. There's much more for us to implement as we work with the fundamentals of time and payroll are actually in place. I know the board has had some interest in progress on potential relocation to the third floor space in the Burton building. I think since we last met, some members of the board did have the opportunity to tour through, so you have a bit of the context of the space that we're looking at. We have proceeded with design development and engaged a quantity surveyor to do some cost estimate for us. That's been a bit of it was a surprising process, I guess. The cost estimates came in much higher than we would have expected. In fact, significantly higher than even from the board's perspective, the very high number that we presented at the outside as a budget estimate, some 50% higher. So we're doing a little bit more work, doing a little bit more design work with some additional consultants on the mechanical and electrical side to try and get a bit more firm and focused pricing, so that we can come back first to the Finance and Audit Committee and then to the board with what we hope will be a reasonable budget for the board to move forward on the lease agreement itself. We've been back and forth with Properties Trust, and thanks to Properties Trust, it's our landlord and working with us. We have had our external legal advisor review the draft of the lease agreement. We did make some requests for some changes, and we did receive just last week version of the agreement from Properties Trust. Review that, and we'll bring that forward at the same time to the budget. Best laid plans, and so we'll be into the fall and back on that project. If there's any questions, I'd be happy to answer in terms of my report.
Okay, not seeing any for now. We will move on to communications and Glenda.
One question.
Oh, sorry.
Paul, when do you think you'll be able to present to the Finance and Audit Committee?
Yeah, I'm expecting that given August is a bit of a challenge for lots of things, that we'll be in that September cycle. We'll get it from the Finance and Audit and then to the board that same.
Anything else? All right, sorry, Glenda, I got you all excited, and we are on to you, communications.
Hello, everybody. Good afternoon. One thing to highlight from our report is that by the time we meet in September, there will be changes on the menu of the new website. We will be having a separate recreation menu. Right now, recreation is siloed under services, but we're just finding that there's a lot of folks in terms of traffic really kind of coming to the website to sign up for recreation programs. So we're separating that out so that it's easier for folks to find what they need right at the top fold. I'm happy to answer any other questions.
Are there any questions for Glenda related to communications? Okay. Thanks. Thank you for the update, Glenda, and we'll look forward to those changes. And with that, we move on to recreation and Dave, and I'll just note that Dave has a separate section in a little while related to the newcomers report. So right now, we're just focusing on the management report for recreation. Dave?
Yeah, good evening to the board. My report is submitted to you for your observation and questions. A couple of things I just wanted to highlight. As noted in our previous recreation and culture review, volunteer recognition really had a value to it and needs to be encouraged further. We've been able to increase that significantly with a lot of positive feedback from our staff and volunteers. In addition, a bit of a welcome challenge. Canada Day celebration brought in between 900 to 1,000 people. We once again ran out of cake. And this year, more people stuck around to participate in various activities, with the most popular being the celebration bike parade along with the hockey ball. So there's some meetings that are going to take place looking at Canada Day in the future. And then just wanted to talk about with the continued development in the area, we're starting to see a lot more unique participants in some of our events and in our programs as more and more. And I'm available for any questions.
Thanks, Dave. Two questions. One is on page 16, your comment, there was a decrease of 71% overall bookings in comparison to the same month last year. Is this a concern or?
No, this is a pattern we're going to see over the next period of time. What we did is when we did an evaluation of our programming, we found the areas that we needed to address and push a little bit harder with a lot of our availability and accessibility. So the choice was to choose programming into those spaces over the availability of booking into those spaces.
The second question I ask it, I think every meeting, and I hope the answer is still the same, but the spring summer total income was 356,000 and change, while spring summer to date is 280. Any reason we won't meet or exceed?
Yeah, I think we'll be meeting that and potentially exceeding it. The way our summer camps generally run and a lot of our programs is parents will attend 1 week at camps and then they'll sign up for the next, and we've already begun to see that.
Other questions, Sandy?
Okay. Thank you, Dave, for updating. My question is on page 19. It's on green report updates.
I think that's in the operations portion. So that would be it'll actually probably be Paul as well. Let's not here, but we'll get to that very shortly. Yeah.
Sorry.
Yeah. So hold your question.
Yeah.
Hold the question. Any other questions on recreation for Dave? Yes, Andy.
I remember. Paul Yan asked me to follow up on that request from a resident regarding the tennis court registration. So I saw the email on July 12th to the last one. She sent pictures attached in the email. I want to know the result now. Yeah, how to copy. Thank you.
Right now, the result is that there is no result. We don't control the tennis courts on either location. UBC Athletics and Recreation do control the tennis court located at the outdoor tennis court located at the UBC Tennis Center. I have forwarded them all of the information that was provided with the concerns and made it aware to them, and they've come back with there's no change at this point. As far as the outdoor tennis courts that are located on Totem Park property, they are handled by the student housing group, and all of their bookings go through there. So even athletics and recreation that books those out for a period of time for their camps, books them internally within UBC. So we don't have a lot of control over any of it other than to pass on and serve as a messenger.
Okay, following on this question, I read the neighborhood agreement on the Article 22. So UNA may appoint one member to each of the following committees. One is University Sport and Recreation Committee. I'm wondering if we have somebody there. You're already in there?
I'm already on that, yes.
Okay. Is it possible for perhaps providing this question to this committee to discuss about it?
I already presented that for discussion.
Now, how to respond to our resident? You will respond that from the email chain?
Yes.
Okay. Okay. Hope our resident can understand.
Yeah, I informed the resident that when there was further information, I would get back to them. And I've since just had that meeting with UBC Athletics and Recreation, and I can certainly follow up with that.
And on the one hand, the neighbors agreement does give us a voice at the table. On the other hand, it doesn't give us power at the table or control. So I do want to thank the resident for bringing this in such considerable detail to our attention. I thank Gabe for his valiant, even if not always successful, but that's not his fault, efforts to get as much access as we can for our residents with UBC-owned facilities. It's a mixed bag when it comes to those facilities. Like there sometimes, we do pretty well, like with the skating rink and whatnot. Like there's pretty decent access. Swimming pool, definitely so. Those tennis courts are harder, although there are a lot of indoor courts, if I'm not mistaken, that are bookable and usable by UNA residents. Not everyone's favorite thing to play indoors on a nice summer day, but those are available. And in any case, I thank Dave for the work that he is doing on this. Much appreciated. Okay, with that, anything else on recreation? Okay, so now we move on to operations and sustainability, and I think I'll turn things over to Paul just to answer questions, I guess.
There's a couple of things that I thought I would highlight. One is I think most of the board's aware that our sustainability specialist, Isabel, who you would have met in your brief time as board members, has left her position and moved to Vancouver Island and is working with actually one of my past organizations, which is good for her. But we are in the process of doing the competition to fill her shoes, which will be a challenge. She is an excellent sustainability specialist and moving our program forward, and that's seen later on the success of the Green Depot numbers. I did also just want to highlight the tree inventory progress. This is, I think, a really great project. It's part of UNA kind of functioning with UBC, this kind of collaboration, living lab kind of approach to things. So we've contracted with UBC Urban Ecology and the Sustainability Lab to undertake the tree inventory, which will then fold into our tree management plan for this next year or so. That work is underway, so we have students out doing the data collection at present. And I'd be happy to answer the question that Sandy may have on the Green Depot.
I think that is great project. I already donate some clothes and books. They're very good. My point is regarding the new session for the UBC, new students will come in. I already talked with Igor regarding how we collaborate our Green Depot with the new students. For example, perhaps open to them, and perhaps they can pick up some books, clothes, or others. it's helpful for them from far away come to our campus. How to collaborate? Thank you.
Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, thanks, Sandy, and it was such a good idea, and I did get in touch with Wegland about this idea to try to work with the AMS, potentially the food bank, where they also have a place where, it's not a swap shop, but a place like a thrift store. My inquiry to Wegland came just as we learned that Isabel, or not too long after we learned that Isabel would be leaving, our sustainability specialist. And so we discussed returning to some specific outreach. There's a new sustainability specialist in place. So that's the update from my end, because I know that we had spoken about it. But I do think that just through some basic communications through the AMS, we might be able to let students know about the Green Depot. And so if we could find a way to make sure that message gets out, I think that would be really helpful. I don't know if there's anything else that you wanted to add to that.
No, I think that we have tried over time to have some connections with the AMS facilities. I think they have their own challenges in terms of staffing of that facility and the turnover that happens. And so the consistency hasn't necessarily been there, but we'll continue to do that work. And I'm sure with Solomon at the table, we can that message can go back, and we get our sustainability specialists back in place. We can again rebuild that connection.
Yeah, I think that would be like very exciting to do. I'd also I talked to you, Paul, as well as to Glenda about like informing students about what services they can access when they live on the UNA. So I think maybe at the next CAC meeting, like kind of an in-depth talk about like how can we advertise to students what the UNA does and what they can access here if they live in the neighborhoods would be a really good idea. And I'd be happy to talk more about the sustainability initiatives as well.
That's great, thank you. It's a great idea about the CEAC addressing some of these issues as well.
One more thing I wanted to highlight on the operations side, the dog park will go to CCP's DP, the Development Permit Board, tomorrow evening for its review. So that's, sorry, it's not
July 30th.
30th. Next Wednesday?
Yeah.
Not tomorrow, following Wednesday. So we should have some, hopefully we'll have some good news in the not too distant future on proceeding with that.
I got here late and I apologize for that. But I did have some questions as it related to the report from campus and community planning, but I guess there's nobody here to answer that, right? So we'll address that next time. It was about some of the permitting.
Permitting, you might have to refer to Carol.
Yeah, I thought so. Okay.
You know, I think if the other board members will humor me, I think it would be nice to just get a few of your questions down. And this is something that I did related to Jen McCutcheon at the last meeting. You know, she wasn't able to be here. I did make a few notes and then contacted her afterwards. So would it be okay with others if we have this brief break in the management reports for a related issue, which is the campus community planning report? I'm seeing no objections, so Michael, if you'd like to pose your questions, I can just make a note of them. And Carol's like many folks on holiday right now, but when she gets back, it's something that I could convey to her on her behalf.
I think the big one was the replacement of the movator is on the docket for permits that are under review. It seems like a pretty large transformation in the core of sort of the Westbrook Village, and so it just seems very like it would pertain to know a little bit more about what this all entails.
Just it might be worth, if you haven't had the opportunity to look on the campus planning website to see the application and see what's being proposed. It is a replacement. I just happen to know because I looked at it. It's replacing the
Movator?
call it movator, okay? Movator with a large elevator to replace it. But it will be up for community consultation and as part of the application. That's the intent. In a similar vein as other shopping areas have gone away from that. I know Paul's in the room from Properties Trust in terms of some of the issues they've had with the movator and maintenance and the costs associated with it.
Yeah, I'm all for it.
Yeah, actually, I flag that as one of the most exciting developments in the Madison Community Planning Report.
Well, it also, it sort of relates to the sustainability part of it, because that thing doesn't stop moving.
Is that that?
Anyway,
That's not the issue. The issue is it breaks down a lot.
and it breaks down because it never stops
And
moving.
actually, the cost of because of the nature of these things, they're like gondolas, okay? They don't use that much energy as you think they do.
And it also takes up an enormous amount of space, and it's also not accessibility friendly. It's just bad.
Yeah, but we're at it. There are a lot of access points to that underground that need to be reviewed. EPC Properties Trust owned building, for example, is an elevator that's always locked. It's lobby. We need 3 or 4 access points. We do have an emergency around here, and we've got elderly people down there. We don't want to have tragedy.
Okay. Anything else on this brief return to CCP? Okay. And Michael, if anything else does occur to you, feel free to drop me a note. And this is the kind of thing I have to admit I even enjoy corresponding with Carol about. So. Or you can write her a note directly too, but I'm glad to communicate with her as well. Okay, so I think that was operations and sustainability. Was there anything else, Paul, on operations and sustainability? Okay. And with that, then we move on to finance, and Athena, as we've heard, is on her much-deserved vacation. So Paul will briefly introduce that. And this is, I'll just remind everyone, this is not the Finance and Audit Committee report. It's only what's included in the management report.
Yep, thank you. The audit will come up later in the meeting. Reference the HRM system implementation, and the other is just the confirmation of receipt of the operation of the neighbors levy for 2025. It's well aligned with the projection that was used for our budget, which is good news.
Okay, and noting that there is also a report later on the neighbors levy, we'll hold questions for that for later in the meeting. Are there any questions related to just the brief overview of what Athena has been working on these past month or so? Okay. All right, so with that, we move on to the newcomers program report, and I'll turn things over to Dave in a moment to talk about some of the exciting programming that's been going on. Dave?
Yes, thank you. I decided to work with Paul, who's going to lead on the newcomers program, to provide just information and update to the board. Under the previous board, it was agreed in 2023 that this position was required and needed desperately within the UNA to work with a lot of our new immigrants coming into the area, as well as anyone who's just new, even from local or mainland, moving over. I'm happy to say I am working with Paul that this previous year, from the fall of 2024 to today and ongoing from this point, we've seen great success in this program. Just to outline a few things, the program delivery and language inclusivity. We've got, at this point, just for the previous year to this point, we've got 23 sessions that have been delivered. This is well over what we forecasted of being 12, 1 per month. So but we've doubled that up. We're averaging 26 people per event with 600 overall attendance, with a 270 registration email list at this point. This is significantly higher than we felt that impact would have, particularly at this early stages of this position. The primary demographics, just to give an example that we're getting from, is a lot of immigration from China, Iran, Ukraine, and India seem to be the ones that are attending these programs at this point. We focused, looking at keeping UNA's commitment to creating connection and fostering welcoming. Our program highlights have focused around community building, education, support, and engagement. We've recently, well, actually from the beginning in helping to shape this program, we partnered with the UBC's Faculty of Graduation Postdoctoral Studies, Dr. Henry Yu, who happens to be the president of St. John's College. He works and has a heavy interest in immigration and creating communities. So we've been working in partnership with him over this period of time. And at this given time right now, he has dedicated three students who are working on helping to assist and give us metrics behind the expansion of this program through word of mouth. So when we initially started the program, it was us and our communications team reaching out to individuals, using our front desk, using newsletters, all of this information so people knew where they could go. But we're now seeing that these groups are growing from other immigrants in the area that are giving out this information, that this is a great program to come out here, it's a good way to socialize. So the key outcomes that we've seen is this, successful integration of new residents with positive community feedback. We've seen strong participation, more than we actually felt we were going to get, and then we've seen a lot of the focus with the language to be very diverse. We're offering the programs in currently Chinese, English, and Mandarin. And as I said, they're highly attended programs. They're excited, and we're getting a lot of feedback from the individuals, participants in the program. If there's any questions about the report, I'd be happy to answer it, but this is for information only.
Thank you, Dave. And we can take questions here. Also, I want to note that I am going to share this report with some members of the last board who were instrumental in helping this come to pass. You was one in particular, but several of them worked towards this. And thank you, Dave, for your responsiveness and for the whole organization for picking this up and running with it and hiring someone excellent to do this work. Are there questions? Other questions for Dave? Sandy?
Okay. Yes, the great program I joined. Yeah. And I think so that is means not only for newcomers, perhaps other residents, even though they lived there for a long time, they didn't know some information. So my point is two. One is maybe we can expand this program to newcomers and information sharing program. That is one option. Second one is I visited West End seniors centers. I saw that seniors program also very helpful, especially for seniors. For example, they provide after you retire, what kind of benefit you can get and how to communicate with others for seniors. I think seniors is a vulnerable group since they have you work, you have your networking, but for seniors, they leave our resident here, we campus, how we can support them. So maybe we can create a program especially for seniors similarly. Okay, thank you.
I will turn things over to Dave to briefly respond. I think you want to say a few words about what we do on the seniors front.
Just to touch base on both of those questions or statements, we are, Pong and I are sitting down this fall to reevaluate where we're at and where we want to continue to grow this program, particularly coming up to next year's budget and anything that falls into that area. So we're going to sit down. So there is a lot of room for growth. And as I said, a lot of this has been unexpected. And I agree with you 100% that we're not just seeing new immigrants that just arrived here, but we're seeing reaching out to immigrants that have already been here for 5, 5, 6, 7 to 10 years and are taking in these programs. In regards to the seniors, right now, currently, we actually are seeking a seniors coordinator. We did have Martha, who was sat down due to family, not concerns, requirements. She has stepped down to do that. We're looking at our seniors, and that does fall within our category of some of the qualifications we're looking for is to actually fall more towards generally like this newcomer program, where it's not just providing programs for our seniors and drop-in and module and all this, but also providing informational sessions, opportunities to do out trips and other items that are in there. Thank you.
That's great. Thank you, Dave. And clearly, there's great hunger for opportunities for community to learn more about the community and the place that we live. Well, newcomers, but also those of us old comers. Where are we? And I want to add, as we will be moving into a budgetary cycle in the near future, we need to keep in mind that we as a board need to choose what we want to support when it comes to spending on positions, on programming, on things like that. And so I think it's just important for us to keep copies of these agenda packets and that tell us about these programs, and so that we can be clear about what we as a board want and support, and things like senior programming, things like more of the kind of face-to-face events, walking tours, things like that. If we want that, we need to be ready to support that in the budget. Ron?
Okay, there's a big resource here for seniors in the West Side. It's been here for a long, long time. It's called Rock House. Have you reached out to Rock House and discussed what they do? It's very simple for our people to join. They're always looking for courses as volunteers. They very much want to push out and attract not just seniors who were born and brought up here, but people who've immigrated in, opening. So I would strongly encourage you to get this going, to go and meet people at Rock House.
Thank you, Ron. Jake?
I just want to say on Rock House, they run a really good pancake breakfast once a year, and it's on this Friday, July 25th. It's excellent.
I got 2 tickets already.
Good. See you there.
What's the age limit?
Yeah, how old are you?
I don't know. I don't care. It's a good pancake breakfast.
Sandy?
Yeah, Rock House is a really great organization. I am a member too. Yeah, I even organized the Chinese New Year for them. I think but perhaps you didn't join, but especially for our campus, we can perhaps more focus. That is my opinion. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Dave, you can see the tremendous enthusiasm and excitement for this work. Much appreciated, and please pass.
We're all over 65.
Yeah, please pass along our appreciation to those who are running the programs on the ground. Anything else?
There's no age limit for the pancake.
That's great to hear.
Brought it up.
Yeah. Although I'm now 55, so I think I qualify for various discounts and whatnot. Okay. With that, we're going to move on now to the UNA and YMCA before and after school care program sub-license report. And I'll turn things over to Paul to introduce and just explain how this has worked and it works. And then after his report, I'll make a motion.
Thank you very much. So for the last number of years, we've benefited from the partnership with YMCA running a before and after school care program out of this facility. It is fully staffed by the YMCA. We provide space for it. We do that via the sub-license agreement. As the board will recall, this facility is licensed to us by UBC, and then we provide a sub-license to YMCA to use the space for the before and after school care program. The YMCA pays a small fee that supports, really covers off some of the building custodial impacts on the building and such. It's relatively minimal value, but it is an important program that runs during not during the summer months, but during those work times for parents to drop off. Pick up. And it's time to reissue that sub license. So we have provided, because under the neighbors agreement requires a board approval, and it's essentially a very operational item, but we have before you that board approval.
Okay, thanks, Paul. With that, I'd like to move that the board approve the UNA and YMCA before and after school care program sub-license agreement and authorize the CAO to execute the agreement. Seconded. All right, any discussion or questions, Jake?
Yeah, one, is it clear, I know you're gonna talk about the insurance later, but is it clear to the insurance that we're running this program?
Yeah, thank you. I actually expected that question. We provide a very robust overview for our insurer on the things that we do and the things that we provide out of the facilities, and this is one of the things that's provided. And the Y also has to carry their own insurance, obviously.
Yeah, confirm that. Thanks.
Okay, any other, Sandy?
I'm wondering if we have some rent from this agreement with YMCA.
The approach that the UNA has taken is that it's a significant benefit to the community to have this program operating. So we do collect some money from them that offsets some of the costs, the building operational costs, but we don't collect a rent for the space. But we do offset some of the operational costs. It's about, depending on the month, about $3,000 a month that they pay to the UNA to offset the custodial costs, the building operation costs, and such.
Can you clarify, is that per month or per year?
No, that's it varies across the months. In the months where it's operating full time, then it's $3,500 a month. In some of those other months where like there's holidays, December and such, we provide a reduced rate to the Y because they're not using it on a daily basis.
There's a typo in the report. It says per year. Just okay. Any other? Yeah, Danny.
I'm wondering if we can perhaps collect some rent from this cooperation. I don't know, but since no.
Go ahead. You can finish your.
Yeah, I think that is our property, and I understand that that's a benefit for our community. However, they have their revenue. They make profit. I know perhaps not big profit, $10 for each way. But especially it's our property. Commonly, we should have this rent. I don't know the context. Thank you.
I just wanted to note that it is a not-for-profit organization, the YMCA, and so they provide this service also. I guess you can call it a cost recovery. They're not profiting from it.
I think it's a policy, is it not, that when we deal with nonprofits to provide a service to the community, we're not looking at any money off, just looking at getting our costs covered.
Okay, any other questions? All right, then the motion is that the board approve the UNA and YMCA before and after school care program sub-license agreement and authorize the CAO to execute the agreement. All in favor? Opposed? All right, motion carries unanimously. Thank you. Then moving on to the next sub-license. This is the UNA and YMCA Vista Point Child Care Facility and West Care Child Care sub-license.
So similarly, but slightly different, these are childcare programs that are provided to the community by the YMCA out of UNA licensed properties. So there's 2 locations, Vista Point, which is in the neighborhood, and here in Westbrook, next door to us. In this case, it's slightly different. The sublicense, it's a similar structure. It's UBC owned property. It's licensed to the UNA, and we do a sublicense to the operator. The fee paid by the YMCA is minimal. It's a nominal charge of $1 a month. In these cases, though, the YMCA is responsible for all of utility and maintenance costs. So it's at no cost to the UNA, and they run their programs. Essentially, we're just providing the facility, or effectively UBC is providing the facility through the UNA. It's part of UBC's commitment on childcare on campus.
Okay, so with that, I'll make the motion that the board approve the UNA and YMCA Vista Point Child Care Facility and Westbrook Child Care Sublicense Agreements and authorize the CAO to execute these agreements. Seconded by Ron. Any discussion? Questions? Okay, thank you. All in favor? All right, motion carries unanimously. Thank you. All right, now moving on to the fiscal year 2025-26 UNA insurance renewal report. And there's no motion here, but I will turn these over to Paul to give an update and what sounds like some pretty good news on the insurance front. Paul?
Yeah, we just wanted to bring it forward for information for the board that we did complete our annual renewal of the insurance program. And following the Finance and Audit Committee's recommendation to the board and board direction, we went out to look at alternate broker for our insurance program, and we were able to get an alternate through BFL Canada. They provided our full range of replacement insurance for the next year. Out of the market, including a couple of new items. One was the earthquake deductible buy down, which is a new coverage. So reducing our deductible from a 10% deductible to 3%, of course, potentially significant. It's not going to be ever have to use it. But potentially money well spent. And secondly, the one that we've been interested for a couple of years is cybersecurity coverage, which is a real benefit to the organization. Altogether, the upshot is that we're able to get all of our coverage underneath, below the estimated budget. It's held in our budget. We have one policy that remains, which is the insurance policy for the buildings, which we obtained through UBC, and that's yet to be finalized. But we expect it will end up underneath our 2025-26 budget, which is also good news. So thanks to the board for the direction and also the support for us to be able to turn this over with my authority to sign off. Because of the timing of this and going to the markets of the board regular schedule.
I have a question.
Well, first of all, I wanted to thank Paul. I wanted to thank Wayland, who worked hard at it, Athena, who is peripherally involved, and then the members of the Finance Committee for their kind of dedicated and informed work on insurance. I think that's great news. And with that, open things up to questions. And Ron, you had a question?
Yeah. Paul, the building insurance, are we obligated to work through UBC with it? We have no option?
Yeah, I don't believe we have any option. We'll broach the topic with UBC, but the expectation as owners of the building, it's really their insurance. We just pay the bill, as it were. There may be some changes to that, I think, maybe going forward, because UBC is changing the way that they procure their own insurance. It used to be through the USIP, the university kind of group insurance plan, and they're going out to market separately. So perhaps that'll change in the future, but I think for the moment we are expected that they will procure the insurance and UNA will pay. as is typical for kind of building owner arrangement.
Okay, any other questions related to insurance? Okay, thanks again, Paul. Now, moving on to UNA's SkyTrain extension to UBC report, and should I just give a little bit of background on that? Yeah, so first of all, I want to thank Solomon for his initiative with the AMS to put some pressure on the various jurisdictions involved in moving us in the direction of having the SkyTrain extension to out to UBC. Is it the Millennium Line? It'll be from the Arcata station onwards. And this is something that we discussed as a board, and we share your sense of not quite urgency, but importance of moving ahead expeditiously, because of the tremendous benefits that that extension will have for UBC as an institution, for students, for people who come out to this university and to these neighborhoods, and also then for people who live here. That's where we as the UNA come in. It's also something that our residents eagerly, many of them anyway, eagerly anticipate having a SkyTrain station that can connect them more expeditiously to the rest of the city and region. So with that, we have drafted a letter of support for the AMS's petition on this, and that is what has come to us here. Paul, I don't know if you have anything additional you'd like to add to that introduction. So there is a draft of the letter here, and so I think what I'd like to do is just move that the board endorse the AMS's petition in support of extending the SkyTrain Millennium Line to the UBC Vancouver campus, and that the board approve the letter in support of the AMS's petition and extending the SkyTrain Millennium Line to the UBC Vancouver campus. I certainly, I think I had too many words in there, but in any case, that second part of the motion was to approve the draft letter that is included in the package. Is there anyone willing to second that among board members? So Jake, thank you. So opening things up to discussion of the issue or of the letter itself. So I'll recognize Solomon first because of his initiative on this, and then we'll turn back to him.
Yeah, I just want to say a massive thank you for bringing this, for you guys bringing this forward, and for I guess your willingness to support this cause. I think given just how delayed it has been, like we've been waiting 17 years since the government first announced that they would be wanting to get involved in this, and the target completion date was 2020. So they've been working on this since I was 3 years old, and you can do a number of PhDs in that time. So I think. Given, I think, the long time frame and I think the level that it has been stalled, we really do want to try to, I guess, move the needle on this issue. And I think having the endorsement of an organization like the UNA is just a massive help. It also has, I think, a lot of benefits for communities like UNA. It would make sure that not only that students, staff, and faculty living in the neighborhoods would be able to access services in Vancouver faster, and overall, we're just very excited to one day see the SkyTrain. And also, just a quick update, we have over 6.3 thousand signatures already, and we're shooting for 10K. And yeah, thank you so much for bringing this.
That's great, and maybe with some luck, they will complete the SkyTrain extension by the time I retire. 10 years?
Maybe by the time Solomon's ready.
Ron.
It's kind of ironic, when they built the Olympic line, they seemed to build in record time. Solomon, who are we sending this letter to besides Mr. Eby?
So the people CC'd on this are Minister Mike Farnworth. He would be the main other person, being the Minister of Transportation. Other than that, we We are also lobbying Wade Grant. He said that he will try to take our petition to Parliament. We're also trying to meet with Gregor Robertson.
So actually, Ron, we drafted the letter, Solomon didn't, but if you think that there are others who should be CC'd, I think the suggestions would be welcome. I mean, might as well CC as many relevant actors as possible.
Our new prime minister has made it well known that he supports infrastructure projects dealing with the development care to stimulate the economy. So I think we got to look at a number of cabinet ministers, not just Minister of Infrastructure, because he's brand new there, so he doesn't have a lot of clout and the way Ottawa works, but also opposition leaders. Okay, anybody else? Because this is a no-brainer. You know, you can attest to as a Minnesotan that you know, even Jesse Ventura figured out that you could build a SkyTrain in Minneapolis from the airport to this stadium downtown and to the University of Minnesota. You didn't have to have a, you know, graduate degree to figure that one out. So, but the basic issue is a problem. You know, they need the federal money. They need the feds to put the money in because Translate is broke. They need money all the time, and the province will put money in matching the feds. But we really got to work on the federal side. My next question, and it really goes to you, Eagle. Why can we not get our UNA members also to get involved and sign this petition or an equivalent petition beside it? 10,000 names is great, but 20,000, 30,000 is even better.
So there's a question for me, but I'll cross my fingers to try to remember, and Solomon.
I can remind you if you don't.
Okay.
Okay. Yeah, so for your first kind of questions, I think, yeah, if you did want to CC other people on this, we'd really love that. The more people this goes to, the better. I can speak a little bit, try not to get too far ahead of where we are now about the plans that we have when it comes to lobbying, and we do have kind of a very set roadmap when it comes to which ministers at the federal and provincial level that we're trying to talk to. We have a trip to Victoria, to the legislature already planned, and we're in the works for one to Ottawa. And we have so your points are very much taken, and we definitely have a very comprehensive plan for the lobbying at all levels for this.
Can we, through our email list, distribute this to all our members and ask them to support this petition? Either with, find a way we can get the information over to this AMS and so we support them. Okay.
I guess I'll convey that question to I suppose it would be Galinda and Chris. But there's both the question of you know what would be the appropriate way to make a communication like that, and then whether advocacy of that type is something that normally appears in, say, our weekly newsletter or direct communications to our members. I don't know, Glenda, if you want to take that, or
Yeah, we can do kind of our regular rollout to our members. We do, whenever we have advocacy letters, we make sure that they're aware of it as well. We put it on our website, we put it on our newsletter, and we also send it directly to them through email.
all right, then I think it sounds like that's something that the board is generally in support of, and it sounds in a way it's a no lose proposition. I mean, it's particular harm comes of it. I think we do need to be cautious that the UNA is taking the position. If we approve this letter, the UNA is taking the positions in the letter, but we don't want to get further ahead of ourselves than that in terms of it sounding like the UNA as an organization is endorsing this or that. Like we are now about to take a vote on what we're endorsing, and it's what's in the letter. So to just kind of keep that in mind, and just in case it's not already apparent, there are some members of our community who are not excited about the SkyTrain coming out to UBC or into or adjacent to the UNA neighborhoods. Although I think it's likely that there's general support for that, but not everyone is in favor of that. And I'm not saying we shouldn't take a position because of that. I just want us to be aware residents are in agreement. Okay. Anything else before we vote on the letter? Okay, with that, the vote is on the motion that the board endorse the AMS's petition in support of extending the SkyTrain Millennium Line to the UBC Vancouver campus, and that the board approve the letter in support of the AMS's petition as circulated. All in favor? All right. Any opposed? No. All motion carries unanimously. All right, so with that, we are moving along. Finance and Audit Committee report, and here now we have gotten to the fiscal year 2024-25 audited financial statements. So I'll turn things over to Paul on behalf of Athena and team to briefly introduce this report, which has already come to the Finance Committee, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, thank you very much. And this is our annual cycle of audited financial statements. Began the process in May. And presented the draft financial statements at the Finance and Audit Committee. The auditors attended that meeting, and there was a robust discussion with the committee members and a lot of questions, which is entirely appropriate and I think was well received by everyone during the meeting. Some changes were brought to some of the documents that are now before the board for approval. Of course, the process is once the board approves the audited financial statements, we then publish them on the UNA website, and this will go to the annual general meeting for presentation to members. We also, of course, have to provide the UBC for their reference. I would expect that the chair of the Finance and Audit Committee may have some additional comments to make, but we do have recommendations from the committee that the board approve the financial statements as outlined in the report.
No, we've looked at this so many times now. I look at this more often than my own finances, so more questions or comments.
Would the chair of the Finance Committee wish to make a motion?
Sure. That the board approve the UNA's audited financial statements for the year ended on March 31st, 2025. That the chair be authorized to sign the audited financial statements on behalf of the board.
Seconded by Ron. All right. Are there any questions? All right. Well, really thanks for all the work, Athena, all the work that she puts into it. This is a huge job. And she does it meticulously, as I think you all are aware. And thanks to the Finance Committee for your close reading of the materials and important scrutiny, as any organization like ours should have. So it's much appreciated. So with that, I'll call a vote on. Oops, Jake.
No, all in favor.
So all in favor of the motion? All right, the motion carries unanimously and enthusiastically. Great, and then following that, it's another annual ritual, the fiscal year 2025-26 UNA auditor appointment, which is a report and then a vote. So Paul?
Yep, thank you very much. Part two of the annual process, as people have mentioned. We did present this report at the Finance and Audit Committee as well, and I think a great discussion came out of the committee around the appointment of the auditor for this next cycle. It's required, obviously, in the Societies Act that we appoint an auditor at each AGM. So the recommendation of the board seek approval for at the AGM to appoint Johnson Archer, our current auditor, as auditors until the close of the next annual general meeting, with the discussion of the committee that we would subsequently look to market for potential change of auditors, but for the next cycle to reappoint Johnson Archer.
Okay, would you like to make that motion as well?
Yeah.
So detailed.
That the board seek approval of the 2025 annual general meeting for the appointment of Johnson Archer LLP as auditor until the close of the subsequent annual general meeting.
Is there a second? Ron, thank you. All right, any questions or discussion? Okay, oh, yeah, Michael.
Just a brief question about the increase in the professional fees, projected from 2025 to 2026, like more than inflation.
Pretty standard.
That's all then, thanks.
Just to comment on that, probably, with, probably 100% confidence, I could say that if you went out to another firm, it would be even more excessive than this.
Okay, thank you for that. Are we ready to vote? Okay, all in favor? Right, motion carries unanimously. And with that, we move on to the 2025 neighbors levy report. Paul, this is more reasonably good news.
Yeah, thank you very much, Eagle. It is good news, as the board's aware. We develop our budgets on the basis of a projected levy, and we wait with some degree of trepidation about how accurate we are with the model. For 2025, the levy has now been confirmed from UBC. The numbers are in the report. It's come in slightly higher than what was projected during our budget time, so that's a good news story as well. It's nice to see that our model is functioning and giving us a reasonable projections that we can base our budget work on an annual basis. It's really for information, so the board's aware of the outcome of the
Are there any questions related to the neighbors levy for 2025? Michael?
Just a clarifying question. The rates from projected to actual seem to decrease, but the numbers seem to have stayed the same or increased. How is, I'm not.
Yeah, so the rate is applied to the assessed values, so you can see in the chart.
Oh, the assessed values.
Assessed values go up.
Has gone up.
The rate may go down, but the ending amount of the levy will increase as a result of the assessment.
I had a related question. The projected rate for commercial and the actual were substantially different. But of course, noting that the assessed values for the commercial property was higher. But is that why? Or is there any other explanation for why the rate for the commercial properties is 21% lower than what was projected?
It's just what we face, of course, is that the rates are not decided by the UNA. They are based on the rates established at the City of Vancouver for similar properties. So we have to kind of wait and see what the budget process from Vancouver we receive those rates, and that's fundamentally baked into the leases of the properties, and so we just accept the rates as they come in. The board may recall that we did have some, during the budget process, we did have some concern about our budget because at a relatively late moment, the City of Vancouver made a political decision to reduce their tax rates for the last year, which below what they had projected in their own projections, and so we had to do some budget work to reduce our budget as a result to make that space. So, but again, the rates are, we just receive them, and how they change, have to have some conversations with Vancouver Council.
All right, thank you. Are there any other questions? Yeah, Holly.
I'll just add that The number projected here, 10,672, 750, does include one building that's sort of under discussion between UBC and Properties Trust at the moment. It's sort of to do with its progression in terms of the building completion and how we've applied the services levy. That is to be determined. If anything, it would reduce the levy by approximately 100,000.
So that's the levy on the commercial properties.
No, on one of
Oh,
the,
oh, no, including residential properties,
yeah.
the ones that are under construction.
it's in the new development. So it's a building that's not complete, or it wasn't complete during the taxation year, the assessment year. And so we're just working out our final calculation.
So does that mean that there's a chance that what is listed here as actual 2025 total levies could be $100,000 less than what is on the?
Potential. So it could, instead of 10,672, it could be 10.
I've noted that.
And so this is, I know Athena's away right now, and we need to catch up with her on this, but it's still being discussed with campus planning as well, and there's no definitive answer. We're going through the data.
I'll just say, negotiate hard.
Yes. It depends who I'm negotiating. Like campus planning says one thing.
Yeah, no, and I know we have representative properties trust here, but, and of course, as they're well aware, a healthy UNA means a healthy neighborhood, means property values.
Yeah, it's a methodology at this point.
Thank you. Great, and so we'll move on to Community Engagement Advisory Committee. And
The services levy,
did I,
example, don't you, to talk about?
I'm sorry?
Attachment called special levy flyer.
Oh, I didn't mention the flyer. So the flyer is something that we put together on an annual basis in partnership with UBC that goes out with the levy notices. So it's just a copy for you're aware of what's being provided in terms of communication with the community about what the levy is, what the rural property tax is, what some of the other taxes that and what we do with the in terms of dividing amongst our service areas.
Okay, thank you, Paul. And so we have a few items left on the agenda, and I'll say it would be great if we could be able to adjourn at approximately 7 for a meal, and then we'll resume the closed session. What's that?
I don't think you're gonna get there.
Well, I'm suggesting that we could move as expeditiously as possible in the next little bit so that we can eat and we'll do our best. And so with that, Community Engagement Advisory Committee, and I just have down here a verbal report from Ron as Yango is not able to be present today.
This has percolated for a few meetings now. We haven't been able to come to council with this, so because of Gamble's PhD work. We want to increase the membership in UNA. And because this has been a problem that we simply don't have a lot of people who are residents here, members, and the more members we have, the more community engagement activity we have. So we set up as a goal to increase membership by first going out to the stratas, making directly with the strata leadership and help us get the word out and encouraging people as to why they should join. Because I have a couple of new people in West Hampstead and are totally ignorant of, because we don't give them a pack when they come in, they don't have a package say join UNA. But in order to do this, we need permission from council to use the contact list that Lakeland has. Lakeland has a contact list for all the various stratas contact people. And we've got a group of volunteers who are willing to go out and meet in encourage. I think that's the first step. If we can, get a couple of thousand new members to sign up, then we have more involvement. I know talking to Bill Holmes, this is one thing he really felt that that there's too much complacency out here, not enough interest. And it has to do with the nature of the place, the nature of our mandate. But if we get out there and explain it to people, I think we're gonna get more people. I think that's the first step that community engagement needs to do. The primary objective of community engagement is to get up more and more members to society. Because people don't understand, just because you live here, it's not like joining a municipality, which you're automatically on the voters list.
Yeah, thanks, Ron. And I know we've had some challenges scheduling a gathering to talk about how best to approach this, keeping in mind that this Community Engagement Advisory Committee is advisory. And so if we're going to mobilize UNA resources in some way for this, we need to talk together about how we might do that, and of course include Glenda as the communications director. So as you're aware, we have an a still unscheduled meeting that we were hoping to have, but it is hard with summer vacation schedules for us to get that done. Although tomorrow I'll renew the effort to set up a meeting, although I can't guarantee that it's something that we'll be able to do in July before people go on for various holidays. I don't know if Glenda, if there's anything you want to add at this point, or really it's really dependent on us having our meeting. So we'll be working on that. Are there any other questions or thoughts other than just a note that it's something that we will be discussing? At the moment, Canada's okay, but we'll try to come up with some way of communicating even across the time zones over the summer.
I want to emphasize that other than having Glenda coordinate, it's not where we're going to be demanding UNA staff to do this. It's the volunteers are going to go out.
Yeah, thank you. All right. Now on to new business. We have West 16th Avenue and Binning Road traffic design discussion. And Ron, you introduced this agenda item. If you want to briefly speak to it.
Yeah, I got contacted by the president of Pemberley, which is a strata that's on the corner on the West 16th in Hampton Place. And we had some communication going back and forth. And talking to a lot of people on Hampton Place, and I don't know if we even talked to people on Binning, but I don't know where this idea came from, because try to make a left turn there, we're so close to the crosswalk. We're talking about either a real major construction to integrate both, and then maybe we have to take out some trees in Pacific Spirit Park. So I'm wondering, where did this idea come from?
I'm not going to be able to answer that question necessarily, but I do want to note that under an initiative begun by Michael and the Land Use Advisory Committee, we are working with campus and community planning to set up a way for UNA board members and residents as well to discuss both current crossings, intersections, and also some possibilities for changes to those, including the crosswalk on 16th, possible turns on 16th. So these are all things that have been considered. I think with traffic consultants is who their campus community planning is drawing on for this, but nothing has been decided as far as I'm aware. But the important thing I think is that we have an opportunity to be at the table. I hope Michael, that we can find a way to meaningfully involve residents in these initiatives. Yeah.
Just to address your concerns, and we had probably the first productive meeting of the land use committee in a while with campus community planning there last month. Where we actually started to lay out some possible options for future planning. And actually getting our recommendations from the land use committee in front of them sort of before some of the pen hits the paper kind of idea. And I know from letters that have been sent and direct complaints that have been, that particular crossing at Binning is a very, probably the biggest problematic crossing in the entire neighborhood. Has been and actually continues to be, despite the changes to the light. It's actually gotten worse in some ways, for bicycles especially. Anyway, we're hoping, and we have scheduled in October, we're looking at scheduling it right now, a walk around with the land use committee and campus community planning, as well as they're going to attend our September meeting, and we will be bringing this very specific crossing up as a highly problematic. And hopefully, I mean, to answer your question though, Ron, about where this came from, this came out of the Westbrook South planning process, where the options that were presented from campus and community planning in the stages that I was involved with as just a resident in their feedback sessions, have Binning now being a main thoroughfare that's going down to the new development in Westbrook South. That's sort of the impetus for why they want to have a left-hand turn signal there, and why they're going to create that road as a major thoroughfare. So it's going to be like the biggest in and out for the residents of those new 38-story towers that are even going down there. So that's sort of that's an answer to your question. I believe that they got some very major pushback on that during even the early stages of that, and we're continuing to, I guess, push back on that as if you are going to redesign that to be a left turn, you might as well redesign the whole damn thing to make it proper crossing that's safe and for everybody. So we're going to continue to push on that from the land use committee perspective.
Yeah, because I've lived here for 19 years now, and I use that crossing quite a bit. And there are some problems with it. Even with all the new work done on it, you still don't have a countdown number, so people get caught in the middle. It also needs to have some, we have a lot of Mandarin people here who cross there and get confused. So we don't even have signage, the proper language. And finally, this is the main source for kids to go to school. So this could be a very dangerous thing. Tom Ainscough went ballistic when I talked to him about this whole thing, because he sees the kids walk across in front of him every day. And then finally, this technically is a provincial road. Well, Metro Vancouver, they may not be too keen on seeing something like this. So, there may be some other solutions you got to deal with. But my comment, we're going to be dealing with a lot of problems like this because of Campus 2050. We're simply pushing so many people to a peninsula area here that we have to find some creative solutions.
Okay, thank you, Ron.
One for an underpass.
Anything?
Car
else?
underpass.
Oh,
A very good solution to talk to you about.
all right. So with that, we'll move on to boundary trees at Sandringham discussion. And I will note that this will likely be coming back in September. Ron, I'll leave it to you whether you would like to briefly introduce this topic now.
Rather than make it a little bit protracted, I put something together for all the council to read. And did an awful lot of research on this. We've walked that street many times.
This is in addition to what's included in the packet.
What's included in the packet has to do with the
Ashmore.
emerald ash borer, which makes the Dutch elm disease and the moth in Stanley Park look like wimps. Okay? So, they're related items, but there is a concern here. If anybody's familiar with Hampton Place, you notice that we have a common fence, a common stone fence that goes around both sides. And I talked with Waven back in March, and we couldn't figure out who owns that fence. But based on talking to some of the old people, it appears that that fence was built before a lot of the stratas are organized, likely by Polygon under direction of UBC Real Estate Corporation, which is the predecessor to the Property Trust. And that fence, of all 11 stratas, it appears the intent was, when you looked at the land plat, was that this wall was just 15 feet back from the street at Sandringham, and in other places as much as 30 feet back. But the tree planting all over the place, and there are 56 of these infamous ash trees still left on the street. Some of them, for example, St. James House, there was no distance between the sidewalk and the street such that there are no trees in front of St. James. Bristol has a driveway entry in, and it has one tree that's actually planted inside Bristol's land. So it's technically a trespass. Sandringham's concern is they have 9 cul-de-sacs that were put in the fence because when it's very obvious that when they went to put the trees in with the fence, there wasn't enough space between the sidewalk by the street and this big stone fence to put the trees in. Because Marywood ash is a big tree. So they put these little cul-de-sacs in. So if anybody remembers back in November 2022, we had a big windstorm and 2 trees came down in front of Sandringham. One came down in front of Pemberley. Those trees have been removed, and as yet 21 months later, we haven't had any replacement trees put in, which is probably just as well given the pestilence coming along. But when John Dunstan approached Wayland about what to do with a particular tree between townhouses 6 and 7, and if you go and walk the street, go look at this tree. This tree is way bigger than every other tree in the place. You know, it's a Goliath. It's got one of the problems with Raywood's ashes. They don't have one trunk going up; they got multi. So you actually got people living in townhouses there with a big branch like this. I'm talking branches that are very thick. So the next windstorm coming along, some of these trees are going to go, and they could be dangerous. They could end up going down on people's properties. Cars always parked there. People could be at risk for their health, for their well-being. And of course, the answer that came back, because Wakeham's, I saw the email, Wakeham said, well, check this, including, with UBC C+CP, and says, well, these are on Sandringham lands, it's Sandringham's problem, but Sandringham didn't put them there. And technically, they're not just, some of them are not 15 feet away, some of them are less when you measure them. And the roots go out onto the sidewalk. And I talked with Bill Holmes about this, and Bill's checked on case law here in BC. And this is when you have something like a tree that goes on both public and private property, both sides are responsible for the tree from a liability standpoint, a fiscal standpoint. So, John is not here today because they're going to get their own, they got a guy who went early last week, their own arborist to do a report on the health of the trees in front of their place. And Sandringham is particularly bad because these trees are so close to their houses, and they're so overwhelming. Given our experience in the 2022 windstorm, something's got to be planned now. Put aside the emerald ash borer, this on its own. So we're going to get a report from this arborist that we can given to us. We can look at it, we can review upon it. But I haven't personally issued to see why these trees are put in way before the Sandringham strata was organized. That suddenly, hey, we put these cute little cul-de-sacs, shove the tree, and it's your financial problem now.
Okay, Ron, thank you. This is clearly a complex issue and also one in which more research is being done. So an arborist report, there's research in terms of whose property lines and as you point out, there are some legal issues here potentially at play too. So I think we can all certainly expect this to come back to board, possibly, definitely to the UNA staff and others as well. So I think we can, we'll keep this careful report that you've given us here, and we'll be returning to this likely in September, is my guess. Are there any questions for Ron about this in the interim before we get more information in those reports to come? Yeah, Michael?
Isn't there a way to just take down the trees and recoup the cost after you?
Michael, you live in Vancouver. Trees have more rights than people. Okay? No, we need the arbiter. We know that these trees were picked because they're an ornamental tree. And the history of these trees, the varied ashes, there's a tree that was called an ash tree. There's ash trees all over the world. So I don't want to go into this big divide, but this tree is old, big, and the Arborist report, the recommendation, we talked 2 years ago about starting a replacement program, but only if this goes to the emerald ash board, because that's accelerator issue.
Yeah, thanks, Ron. I think we have one more item on the agenda. That's the emerald ash borer, and for this one, you have a very helpful information sheet in the agenda package.
It's a pretty beetle, by the way. It's very pretty.
I'm not sure that your image does it justice.
No, because unfortunately
It's a kind of a black blob.
No, but I think that's why I sent you the picture separately, because it would cut and paste very well. Okay, this is an addendum to the report I sent earlier. And it's something that Wayland worked on with me before he left. The emerald ash borer, this tree has been coming, this insect has been coming from the east since 2002 when it was first found in Detroit.
Ron, sorry to cut you off already, but if you could be as absolutely concise as possible, because
Anyways, I won't get any more.
Running blank.
Okay, well, that's what I warned you about.
Okay, yeah, but in any case, you provided us a lot of information.
Okay, well-
So if you could cut to the chase.
I'm going to cut to a very simple chase.
Okay.
You've got my report to read. We've got 56 trees on this street. There are not a lot of ash trees in the city of Vancouver because we're not in an ash forest. Okay. This is a hardwood forest tree, the Virginia forest, not the boreal forest that we have here. There's only 3 in Southlands. There's only three in West Point Gray, and there's nothing in Pacific Spirit Park. It's not a native tree. It's not at all. So this beetle flies up to 20 kilometers a year and then lays its eggs. So what we don't want is this beetle to show up on the street and suddenly we get all these infected trees, because the arborist that Andrew had, that Diane Trudeau was talking to, says, yep, it's literally like hazmat when you have to start taking these infected trees out. And I confirm this is talking with my cousin's husband who lives in Markham, and they had the trees in their street taken away. Because you have to burn the wood. This larvae is really resilient, it can live for years, minus 30, and it's not even, on those minus 30 degrees Celsius. And we simply have to look at the reality that these trees will have to be replaced. The question is, we need to come up with a plan. We need to talk to some advisors. I gave Wayland some names of people that I researched. There's one guy who lives in Burnaby. He's definitely Canada's guru on this bug. And so we have to come up with a plan, working with UBC, and everybody says, okay, we can't just wait. It's a bit like you and I, we lived with Dutch elm disease. Remember the Dutch elm disease in the trees. And ahead of time, people were chopping trees down and planting resilient trees or alternatives. And so we have, you know, if we are having 56 trees in one street, we are the most concentrated ash tree area in the whole lower mainland. Okay, we need a plan. We need to get Wigland, sit down with the right people and bring us a plan in 60 to 90 days, and then from there, we should need to budget for it.
Okay, thanks, Ron. I know Wegland is well aware of this issue, with thanks to you for the information that you provided and a sense of urgency, as well as in general, overseeing the landscaping operations here. It is something that he's aware of, and so I trust that that the UNA operations team will try to be proactive here. I don't think that any particular motion is necessary at this time, but I would like to just convey to everyone that we hope to have sometime in the fall a report about where things stand and what the UNA will be doing on this front. Michael?
Just, so these trees, these ash trees that are throughout the entire neighborhood, they're within the purview of the street trees?
So the discussion started from the kind of more controversial ones that may be responsibility of individual stratas.
Right, but
There
these-
are other trees.
These
that
are street
within-
trees.
Within the UNA's responsibility.
They are, street trees are.
Yes.
Okay.
All the brown trees are.
Are there any other questions or comments for now on this issue, which will no doubt be before us over the next while? Okay, thank you for that. Mistakenly turn off my mic. I am going to add an item of new business before we break. I'm going to do so without even asking. Chris is looking at me as if something terrible is about to happen. But actually, I would like to take this opportunity to recognize Chris Hakeem, who has been our steady, really knowledgeable, always organized, really helpful corporate services officer for the organization, and who will be leaving us in the middle of August to head off for law school. And I can't even imagine what things will be like without Chris around. Even though we've been working for the organization for a few years, I would say, but just has been so important and so helpful for the board, for the staff, and really has helped keep things running, has helped keep us informed about what we can and cannot do, parliamentary procedure, general procedural issues. So Chris, on behalf of the board and also fellow staff, some of whom are here, others of whom couldn't be with us today, I want to thank you for your service over these past couple of years, and I'd like to also offer with our thanks a little gift from all of us. I'm making sure to send things Chris's way as fast as I can about the scheduling for the fall, stuff like that. And he's been so helpful on all of that too, even though he's only around for another 3 weeks or so. So thanks for that. So with that, the last item, which I don't know if it's going to make it in the minutes or not, probably not. I would move that the board adjourn into a closed session to discuss matters related to discussions and dealings with other entities or individuals where disclosure of the information being discussed can be harmful to the UNA's interests, and the approval of minutes for a closed session or restricted closed session of the board meeting. That's seconded by Jake. All in favor of all that verbiage, motion passes Unanimously, and with that, we will take a 15-minute break for eating. You can keep eating after those 15 minutes, but we have at least 15 minutes to gather some